Hey,
Good
good morning.
morning. Good morning, everyone. You are watching the This Way Network chat session, and we are thrilled to have our guest with us this morning. That
Yeah.
lovely lady in the middle there, who has joined me, your host Nina, and my co-host Rodney, Alan Rippy, is the one in the middle is Brenda Wilkerson. And y'all, I cannot wait. I'm so excited about you meeting her because she is a writer
Mm.
and an elementary school bus driver. And both of those things are linked together. Let me tell you, she has got a following here locally with what she has written about her adventures driving a school bus, and they are quite poignant and touching, just very, very interesting. And I cannot wait for you to meet her and for her to share some of the things that she's written about. So, welcome, Brenda. Welcome to the chat session. Can you hear
Really
us?
good to be here. Thank you
Oh,
so
good.
much.
Okay, good.
I can hear
So
you.
there might be a little bit of delay. We'll have to work with that. But anyway, we are so excited to have you here. And let me ask you first off. I have a feeling that most people, when they think about driving a school bus, the majority of people think, oh my goodness, all those kids and it's noisy and you're having to navigate. You have to get up so early and they have all these reasons they're thinking this does not sound like something that would be a happy job. And they're probably also thinking, yeah, and I couldn't do that for more than maybe a year, if that. So tell me, how did you get started and why?
Is there a delay? I
Yes.
just now finished your question.
Oh, Rodney says no, but there is
Okay.
between me and you. So,
Okay. Okay. How I got started was, I guess, right out of college, I got a degree in elementary education
Mm.
and started teaching. And then when babies came along, I stayed home and I raised them. So I had been home for 21 years, raising my three kids. And then it came to the point where they're getting older. Um, I homeschooled. I call myself my kids' school manager because I didn't actually homeschool them in our kitchen table. We went everywhere. So they get older and they're more independent. And insurance would be really nice if it was less. So looking into bus driving, the bus drivers get the same insurance as teachers. And so I got started back into working by the insurance basically, and driving a big bus. I've always driven big trucks all my life, and so the big vehicle didn't scare me. Definitely a challenge, but I was excited because I absolutely love children. I love seeing them and young being nurtured by their surroundings, and I just love being a part of that. So that's what I did. And for those people who say I could never do what you do, I have a response that says, of course you can't. If you weren't created and given the gift of doing something like that, then you shouldn't be a bus driver. But the other thing for people to think about, if I can't even tell you the joy that I get from following the path that I feel like the Lord put me on. I can't wait for Monday mornings. I pop up at 5:15 every morning, and I didn't know I was a morning person until I became a driver. Now I love it. Um, but I pop up, I run my route, I love on the kids. Then I get off the bus about 7:15, and then I go home for several hours. So when everybody's going to work, I'm driving home. So there's a perk right there.
and you still have plenty of time to do other things in the day. Yeah. So
I
has it
do.
always
Right now, I'm
go ahead. Oh, we must have a very significant delay. Sorry about that, y'all. So let me ask then, have you have you always been an elementary school bus driver, or have you driven for, high schools, junior highs as well? It sounds like she can't hear me,
At
Rodney.
this
Could you
point, I
repeat the
have
question
been
to her?
just
go ahead.
hired as an elementary school bus driver.
Mhm.
I'm going to try to get on with my phone. That may help. I'll try to
Okay.
do that.
All right.
So I'll answer
So
what you
technical
said about
difficulties, y'all.
if I hang on. I got you.
Sometimes it's just kind of internet stuff, but other than that, I think we have someone coming in. Hold on.
This is Brenda.
Hold on.
Let's see.
Device is not connected. Hold on. We're working.
We're getting there.
Live. Here we go. Live.
Oop, now there's an echo because we need to take.
Nope,
there we go.
Off.
All right.
Hold on. We're waiting for her to come on. There she is.
And we're waiting for a video feed.
We're waiting for video.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. She may be back in
She's working on it. She's still in the backstage.
Okay. We brought her into the studio.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We just can't see you.
So
and now we can't see her either. I mean, hear her either.
Well, in the meantime, how was your weekend, Nina?
Well, my weekend was great. We had lovely weather, and I got a bunch of stuff done. I made a fantastic beef stew in my Instapot yesterday.
Instapot, they can't be
yes.
Okay, bring me back.
Yes, we can hear you. We just can't see you.
So my cam won't let me pop on. So if I can just speak, I think we can do okay because there's no background, anything. I can hear y'all in perfect timing now. So
all right. Dave says we don't have enough bandwidth.
Oh.
So
okay.
Well, hey,
all right, but we'll manage. We're going to play this like a radio interview. How about that?
Awesome.
So, Brenda, you were answering the question about have you always been an elementary school bus driver, or did you also do high school and junior high?
So I was hired as an elementary school bus driver. But we have the opportunity from time to time when other bus drivers are out in the middle school or high school, we do their sub routes. Just this morning because our elementary, middle, and high school are on staggered schedule, I can finish my route and then go to the middle school and either pick up or drop off, the kids in different grades and ages. So that's what I do. Elementary is my primary right now.
Okay. So let me ask you this too. Have you always been a writer?
In some form or another, yes. I wrote as a child. I loved to write. I think along the way, I had an amazing lit teacher, Miss Douthit, who really sparked a fire under, that I believe that gift that God gave me, and people along the way nurtured me into that direction. So I've always written, I've done journals. So it is one of my, the things that I love to do.
That wouldn't be Ellen Douthit, would it?
No, not Ellen Douthit.
Okay. All right. It's a uncommon last name. And I did know an Ellen Douthit, and I thought, what are the odds? So apparently not that great because it's not the same person. All right. So you've been writing for a while.
Yes.
What was it that prompted you to start writing about driving the school bus?
Well, I'm going to say it was absolutely all God because when I first held that CDL packet in my hands, knowing I was going to go on this journey, I was prompted to just take a picture of it in the coffee shop and post about it that said, hey, learn new things. Here we are. Lord, show me what you want to do with this step I'm about to take. Come on, everybody. What are you prompted to do? What do you feel like you need to do? And so I have literally photographed and journaled this entire process from the very beginning of even thinking about it. And now I'm starting year number 5. And it was just a God thing, because number one, I have a little bit of a scatterbrain. My gift is ADHD. It's my superpower. So I don't stick to things very often, but this is something that I have stuck to. And it helped also. I wanted to be an encouragement for some of the moms out there that maybe, you know, the empty nesters, or their kids are at school, and say, okay, now what do I do? So I kind of felt at that point I was pulling people along with me to say, don't be afraid at this age, midlife, to try new things.
I love that. I love that. Excuse me. And y'all, I can attest, she is a fantastic photographer as well as a writer, and she has literally married the two in a beautiful way. Brenda started making regular Facebook posts about the things that she was experiencing on the bus, or while she was going to pick up the kids, or after she had dropped them off. And they were so touching and so meaningful that she got a following doing it. And now she has a couple of published pieces in one of our local newspapers, and as well as has been reading one of her stories on one of our local radio stations. And I don't mind telling you, I went and listened to it yesterday. It was fantastic, so touching, had me crying and cheering at the same time.
Yes.
And marveling over the wisdom that God had given you. I would love for you, I do want people to go and listen to that. And I'm going to put that link in the comment section right here. But I would love for you to tell that story just briefly.
All right. Can y'all hear me?
Sure.
Okay. So the story,
Yeah,
well, I had to shift off to go to, you know, my notes to, you know, find that story, or you know, talk about it. But that story, I was cursed gifted with an empathetic heart times 1,000. So I feel like when these kids get on the bus with a look on their face, I can feel their mood. And so when I got a couple of new bus riders, I kind of feel like, what would it feel like to be brand new? Like I was very welcoming, and I was encouraging. And I also knew when I drove up to their house, their little set of condos, it was a very disheveled, unkept, low income set of houses. And so when this little boy asked me, he sat right behind me, and he asked me if I had a nice house, while driving in the rain and carrying his burden and his question, I'm thinking on my feet, praying to the Lord, driving in the rain, and asking God, you know, quick, like, how do I answer this? Instead of going, hey, buddy, it's raining, I really got to concentrate on the road. I may talk to you when, you know, when I stop the bus. And I knew it did not need to be that kind of a situation. So at that point, God just, like, it was like he was speaking through me, and I began to ask him questions like, do you have somebody at home that loves you? And he said, yes. Do you have food on the table? Yes. Do you have a warm bed at night? Yes. And so then the conclusion was, and I told him, then you have a lovely home. Because a home can be more than the walls. A house is the construction in my mind. The home is the environment. And I wanted him to concentrate on what he had versus what he didn't have. And I knew that peers, you know, we have to stop at every house. These kids are probably making comments and, you know, things that probably didn't feel real good. So I just wanted to just be a light in his day. And that's basically what I try to do every day.
What a blessing for that child, and for all of them, really. Now, Brenda, go ahead,
You know, I
Bobby.
have to say, you know, being involved in the entertainment industry, some of the best stories are real stories, and the content that you get, and the energy, and you're seeing things real time, so that your stories are so real to life that that's what probably makes all of your projects special. And even, just some of the best movies have been adaptations of books. So a lot of feature films start out as a book somewhere, and then they try to bring it to life or bring the story to life. And I could only imagine the things that I remember as a little boy being on the bus. And it's very, very, very poignant. I lived in North Carolina at the time, and so we saw so many different things, because when the kids come out of their house and get on the bus, you see their environment. And yes, I lived in North Carolina, and so when we would take off, sometimes the bus would kind of go through rural areas, and then it was really strange. Our high school was right next door to a country club, strangely enough. And some of the kids were wealthy and some of the kids were farmers. And so we just had that whole mixture. But I think it's a wonderful thing that I'm really interested to learn more about your stories and how you came alive. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. So the little boy you're talking, so that's interesting. Keep going.
Yeah, so the little boy, I also understood there were times that he acted out. There were times that he wasn't himself. And I knew it actually could be sometimes his environment. And so, like I said, I've been gifted / cursed with empathy. And I'm looking at these kids more than sit down, be quiet. I got 65 kids on here. I can't drive. I would say the usual bus driver response, and really try to meet these kids where they are. And do you mind if I read one of my stories that kind of would
explain? Oh, please. Yeah, please do.
A little bit about what happened in real time. And this story covered 3 days. But it's quite short, but it'll give you a little taste of what I do. Because when I post as captain's log. Like I'm the captain of my ship, I'm the captain of my bus. And it's an entry, it's a journal form. So this one was captain's log, ice cream heart. Okay. Here you go. This is for you. This sweet voice came from my first grader, ready to exit at her stop. Nestled in her 6-year young palm of her little hand was a brand new necklace. I was confused at first, thinking it was something she found to be returned to the owner. But there it was, a half of an ice cream heart with a tiny silver charm that read BFF. See? She said proudly, showing the other half of her ice cream necklace secured around her neck. She leaned forward to show me that the two pieces fit perfectly together. It took just a little while to register that this was the coveted double best friend necklace sold at the book fair in the school library only hours before. My brain swirled. This is for me? You want me to have this? She giggled and responded, yep. It doesn't happen often. But I was speechless. Of all the people in her little world to give her heart to, she chose her bus driver. To be honest, 99% of my mind wanted to refuse this gift and convince her to give it to a friend or her mom. But God impressed upon me how special the heart of a giver is, and who am I to deny her that right to follow her generosity? So I hugged her tight, looked in her eyes, and said, thank you so much. This means the world to me. She beamed, turned, and disappeared down the 4 steep steps to her driveway.
Oh, so I love that story.
So those are the kind of things, but there's a continuation to this one. Would you like for me to read this one? This is
please.
This is the next day. This is Captain's Log, Ice Cream Heart Melted, Part 2. As the kids were loading up after an exciting school day of creative costumes and painted pumpkins, I welcomed a sweet visitor to my captain's chair. Miss Brenda? My heart smiled. It was my ice cream heart, BFF. I reached for my necklace to show her that I was wearing it. Yes? She hesitated and looked at her feet. Can I have my necklace back? I immediately reached behind my neck to unclasp the hook. Of course, sweetie, what's going on? Are you okay? Her eyes never left the floor as she explained that her mama was upset that she gave her necklace to me. Carefully probing a little further, it seemed that her mom demanded the necklace to be returned because, you see, Mama declared herself as her daughter's best friend, not the bus driver. I curled my pointed finger and tucked it up under her chin to lift her eyes to mine. I am so thankful for you. I will always treasure the fact that you wanted me to have this. I took her petite hand in mine, turned it palm up to drizzle the now priceless treasure into her nervous hand. I'm not mad at you, and you are still just as special to me as you were yesterday. My words didn't seem to help much while she struggled to make a half smile and fought back the tears. My heart shattered for her, absolutely to bits and pieces. When I slowed to her stop and pulled my brake at her house, she again paused at my captain's chair and gifted me the warmest and squeeziest 6-year-old teddy bear hug ever in the whole wide world. I love you so much, I whispered in her ear. You mean the world to me. Her eyes sparkled a bit, and her familiar smile returned. Then, just like yesterday, she beamed, turned, and disappeared down the 4 steep steps to her driveway.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That
Wow.
day, too. Now, my third entry was when she got on the next day. She handed me a letter with a little something inside, and it says, "Best bus driver, this is for you. I worked hard on it. It means BFF for you." And I have this necklace on right now. It's purple. It's got snowflakes. It's a handmade beaded purple and pink necklace that
Oh.
could not be so much better than the half a ice cream heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that I experience, and then I am able to express that these kids are more than the, oh, I could never, they're hanging out of the windows, they're slinging stuff in the. These kids are our connection on this ride every single day. Sometimes they're on there for an hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon. We've got connections on there that are so hidden and special, not even to their own parents. I guess I don't blame the mom very much to go, what are you giving it to her for? She doesn't understand what we got going on,
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a snippet sample of the things that I post.
Brenda, I dare say that most people who have ridden a bus going to and from school probably didn't have any kind of relationship with their bus driver. And I can imagine this is why most parents don't understand. So, but the fact that you have made that connection with those kids, I can easily imagine they get very excited about getting on the bus every morning just to know they're going to see you and have a little time around you, and that you express it so well. Oh my goodness. Listen, to our viewers out there, I have put some links in the comments here. I want to show those on the screen. So that you can stop and copy these down, copy and paste, whatever you need to do to go hear more of these wonderful stories, because they really are fantastic. And there we go. There's another one right there. I'm going to leave that up for a few minutes so you've got time to do it.
So I tell you, I am like humbly, like, I'm so honest. One of those stories is when I backed into a brick mailbox, and those are stories that I could totally skip because it's just so embarrassing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to show people too is that it's okay to make mistakes. Just work hard to make up for it or fix it or reach out or, the kids thought I was a rock star until I hit the mailbox, and then I was the crazy bus lady who's trying to kill us all. Like I dropped grace so fast. So yeah, some of these are just I consider myself a messenger in the middle. God is trying to pour into. If I use myself as a vessel, pour into me to pour out into these children, to love on them, to teach them, to be lead by example. And it absolutely refreshes me every single day. Do I have bad days? Absolutely. Don't think it's not all, sunshine and roses, but neither is life.
Brenda, quick question. So, as it seems from what I'm hearing is you have a message for everyone that no matter what job you have, no matter where you are, you can actually impact the lives of others just by doing, really major things that you're doing, because that time that you spend, the closeness, and those type of relationships, that is something that everyone can do. And I mean, that's really amazing.
Well, and added to that, thank you for making that observation. I actually have a master's degree in elementary education. I have a current certificate that I could walk into probably any school is hiring and just come aboard because that matches my quote unquote education. But with that, my message is it really doesn't matter what kind of master's, doctorate, whatever. If you're not living in the field, if you're not in the field where the Lord has led you, you're probably going to be pretty miserable making a lot of money. I am so fantastic. Where else am I going to look forward? Like on Sunday, I'm like, "Ah, Monday's coming, right? Like who does that?" So when you're in your groove, when you're really seeking the Lord and say, "Lord, where do you need me?" And I could have felt the tug for bus and said, "No, I'm so overly qualified for that position. What would I do that for? Because that didn't bring in the money." And I've had people look at me and go, "Really? What, did you waste your master's? Did you waste your education?" Absolutely not. These are people who don't understand. I'm not talking bad about them. They don't understand when you are placed and you are serving and you are following peace can lead you to the most beautiful places.
Mm-hmm. That's true for all of us. That's true for all of us. That's a great message there, Brenda. Um, how did you develop these kind of relationships with these kids?
Well, starting off is kind of hard because when I took over this route last year, the lady who drove it, I was very envious because she knew all their names and she knew all their ticks, and she know that this one usually does that. So I mean, it was like literally having 45 kids, your children. She knew them, and so I was like, oh my goodness, I will never. So it starts with every day. I told myself when they get on the bus, I say their name. Good morning, whatever. Scarlett, good to see you. Oh, I like your shoes. Man, your hair looks amazing. Like, so I start making the connections when they get on and off the bus to try to remember their names. This morning, I had a little boy, his name's Evan, get on, and his hair usually has some really beautiful braids. But this day, he let the braids came out and he had the most beautiful hair. And I was like, let me tell you, little brother, you look amazing, because I knew what was coming, y'all. He was going to get made fun of. And one little pre-K looked at him today and said, "You look like a chicken." So I tell them they're beautiful, and then I'll say, I don't care what people say about your hair. You are fantastically handsome. So that's what I try to do when they get on the bus. I notice their shoes. I notice something nice. I said, "Wow, your hair looks good today, and I like your shirt." That is some effort on my part in the beginning, but that lays the foundation for them to say, "Look, I lost a tooth." They're sharing their little experiences with me. My baby brother was born, whatever. So it just starts really slow and intentional and consistent, and then it just goes.
Wow, that's fantastic. Because I can imagine how they really open up to you when they know that you see them and you care about what's going on in their world.
Yes, and
So,
if I could interrupt right quick, sorry. The other
sure.
side of that is I have had to call DHR into different situations
Mm.
because of what I see, because of what they're saying, because of what I
Mhm.
observe. And I had a little girl, mom and daddy are fighting. Daddy hits mommy. I begged her not to leave last night, but she left me alone with Daddy. And these are, you know, and I just hug her tight and say, are you safe? And this little girl, I drop her off and I go, there's more kids that I drop off, but I have to go right by her house and she will literally give me a thumbs up. She's had time enough to go in her house to figure out the atmosphere of that house. And she'll give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And I have to keep driving, but she knows I'm praying for her.
Wow. Oh, thank you, Rodney, for putting that up on the screen. That's fantastic. And for those of you, we couldn't get the video feed going, but this is Brenda right here in front of one of the buses that she has driven. Fantastic stories. I put a bunch of links in the comments. I want you all to use them and go look at some of her other stories. They are so amazing. Brenda, I have to ask you because there was two things as I was reading some of your stories yesterday that really caught my attention. One was that unexpectedly, I would think, you are sometimes the authority in the room, so to speak, the adult who is present when these kids are experiencing something unusual, either exciting or sometimes a little traumatic for them, like coming across an accident.
Yes. Yes.
That
there's such a gambit of emotions and experiences. And by nature, I'm a nurturer. So I did write about in one of the papers about we came upon a very fresh wreck. Like the people were just now coming out of their cars. And my kids behind me are watching this. We're up, you know, we're higher up. And the windshield is like a big screen TV. And these kids are beginning to go, oh no, wreck. Obviously, the girl who got out of her car, she was in shock. She was okay, but she just kind of crumpled to the ground, and you know, just sad and probably like, oh my gosh, my parents are going to kill me. I don't know what her was.
Yeah.
But these kids could sense that this is sad and this is bad. And on top of that, oh no, I can't get home. We could not go forward. And behind us was a very curvy road. So we were stuck. I had to radio it in, calm the kids. Some of my older ones, we all kind of had a feel, and they were talking with the younger ones, and they were the ones kind of helping distract them and saying calm, nice things. And eventually in that story, there were some parents that got out of their car, and I backed up they walked alongside the bus, and I was able to back up that windy road until I could find a place to turn around. And so when some of these kids got off the bus, finally, it was late. The parents knew because the school let them know, and they would just melt into the arms of their parents, you know, just, oh, I'm so terrible and I missed you. And you're like, to them, that was like, it was the end of their life as they know it. So yeah, just walking them through, I remember one year there was a house fire, and it gutted a house that we passed. And so I told them that when we passed to say a prayer, because think about if it was you that just lost everything. So in a way, I'm trying to teach empathy, which this world desperately needs. And so there were kids that did just that. And I don't know, just they're so young, fresh little minds. And I want to just do everything I can in my power, in my gifting as a vessel of the Lord to just love on these kids in every way possible that I can.
Brenda, I have to ask, and so I got a picture up here of you. Look like you're somewhere, like you're in Greece. Looks like you're traveling. Where was this beautiful picture of you? Where is this? Where are you? Where were you?
Okay, yes, sir. That is Greece. It was.
Oh, what a guess!
Yeah, look at that. I know. Look at those columns behind. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Hang on. Did I lose you?
No,
we can hear you. Sounds like you can't hear us.
Hang on. Okay.
Now she can't see us. So okay.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so that was in Greece. Me and my daughter had joined a mission team to go to
Mm,
Greece, and what this conference was that missionaries were coming to Greece for a conference, and these were missionaries that if they let anybody know about their faith, they would be imprisoned, they would be, thrown out of the
mm,
country. So these were missionaries incognito in other countries so they could actually come together and worship and be renewed by just coming
mm,
together and having fellow people. So interesting thing, I mean, I love kids. My daughter and I joined a team that basically was daycare for these missionaries who desperately needed to not be with their kids for a little while because they did in different country. You don't have babysitters. You're not going to drop them off in daycare, right?
mm-hmm.
So people are like, so let me get this straight. You were a daycare worker in Greece. Yes, absolutely. Amen. 100%. So these kids had a different need. These kids were kids without a country. Their parents were from, let's say, America, but they grew up in, you know, England. And so we
Mm-hmm.
had programs. We took them outside. We did arts and crafts. We came alongside them who some of them were really having a hard time being apart from their parents. So that picture represents one of our tour days when I was
Mm-hmm.
over there doing mission work in that way.
Okay.
That's
Wonderful.
wonderful what you went over there to do. I'm sure the missionaries there so appreciated having the
And I got.
opportunity.
They were in tears.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were just in tears to be able to leave their kids in safe hands.
And
Mm.
so, who is this cute young man? He's
Oh,
giving you a big hug. Who's this? Who's this little guy?
so that is my son Jake. I posted that
Oh,
I posted that picture as my profile because he is a senior this year. And I'm just like every once in a while I'm posting pictures of, years past to just kind of
yeah.
just love on him. And he's like, Mom, or whatever. But that we're at a state park and he's on my back and we're just loving life.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, that's
Rodney, if you
cool.
haven't seen it yet, I sent you a picture with Brenda in front of her bus on Messenger yesterday. So
Yes,
if yeah, did you
yeah,
get
I'm
that
working
one?
on
Okay,
it.
good.
We live in production. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well,
All
I
right,
also
fantastic.
I wanted to say that size doesn't matter. I am 5'2", 130 pounds. And some of the tiniest women drive these big honking buses. And I wanted to say that shouldn't be a discouragement because once you learn the bus, I can drive
Mhm.
that bus better than my car. You learn how to turn it. I'm not scared of it anymore. I drive it twice a day. It's part of me. But
Mhm.
it's size, you don't have to be big, you don't have to be tall because Buddy, those seats will scooch up with my little legs just as waving, trying to reach the gas pedal. So it's really something that can be learned if it's what you want to try. It's a learned skill and can be
Mhm.
absolutely just put into really good use. It doesn't matter if you're a girl, you're an older man, like whatever you think a bus driver looks like, a grumpy old man. If you feel the calling, don't let anything about you, your size, whatever, deter you from seeking that.
Mhm.
Brenda, I think
Mm.
the skill part that people feel like, oh, that's what I don't have, and I
Mm,
don't think I could be a bus driver is
mm,
how in the world, when you're on a bus, you've got responsibility for the safety of these kids, and you've got what is essentially a classroom full of kids behind you. How do you keep order? How do
oh,
you keep things sane? How do you keep them from not killing each other or hitting you in the back of the head with something or,
mhm.
you know,
Well, what I have done, I do believe that is where my education has come into play as well as
Mhm.
loving kids by nature. Knowing their developmental levels, knowing what they can, I'm not going to demand that a 4-year-old sit quietly for an hour and get onto him for not. I've got like little magnets that stick on the side of the walls, the metal walls, that'll give some of these littles something to do rather than, sit there and do nothing for an hour, but beat up their
Mhm.
bigger sister and the sister's going, stop. So what I do, I've got sometimes 65 children in the afternoons. That's 3 classrooms, and that's 4 years old all the way up to 5th grade. So
Wow.
one of the things that helps is having assigned seats. And
Mm.
and I do change that according to who can stay in control and who can't. But I take a wide strip of blue painter's tape on the corners of all the seats that has the name. Well, the reason I do that is because some of these kids, that's their eye level. They see their names on the seats.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that. The other part is I have older kids, the older 4th and 5th graders volunteer to be called bus rangers.
Mm.
Ah.
And these bus rangers, they answer the questions. These kids are raising their hand, of course, and I have to remind them, I'm not your teacher. I'm driving on the road. You know? So I have some kids that will intervene the questions, all the little things, or make announcements. I saw a deer, and it's just really silly. But the other thing is, I believe in letting them, I guess, controlling the crazy and the chaos.
Yeah.
I have taught them songs. I know not everybody remembers the old McDonald's Big Mac filet,
Oh.
quarter pounder French fries. This song came out before the chicken nuggets, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I pulled that from, it was just a fun little chant, and these kids love it. They're like, let's sing the hamburger song. And
Oh my goodness.
I find that channeling 65 individual churns of energy into a song or a chant actually calms them down. There's one
Well,
chaotic sound and not 65 chaotic songs. Now, I can't do that the whole time, but I made up a song about the wheels on the bus, but it was not the usual one. There's some of the Disney songs, just little quips we'll sing to the top of our lungs. So it's about also still bringing the group together for a common have fun. Now there are times that we go silent ride. If they get out of hand, I explain to them that if I have to look in that rear view mirror, I'm not looking at the road.
right.
And they kind of go, oh, so there will be times that I say, silent ride until we get to Michael's house. Because I can't say silent ride for the entire hour, right? Nobody's going to do that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, and if somebody's still yelling and talking, then you won't be able to talk until Spencer stops. So I'm giving them a reason to be quiet for a time, and that calms them down. And then I say, okay, when we get to Spencer stop, you may whisper again. And so
Mm-hmm.
I will say the superpower of being ADHD, it works wonderfully on this
I have
bus.
to tell you, Brenda, I was thinking about you. I mean, and you being a cool bus driver. And the reason why I started to laugh, because I just remembered being in North Carolina. We had one bus driver. Now you talk about controlled chaos. It just brought back this crazy story because it was during the summer or just kind of coming out of the winter, starting in the spring. It would still be cold, but for some weird reason, there was some kids and some of my friends that are watching from Southeast back in North Carolina. They'll remember I was on bus 513. I'll never forget it. And these crazy kids started with water balloon fights on the bus.
Oh,
And we literally would have water draining out the back door of the bus. I mean, they would get on with plastic bags and it would be a water fight on the bus. And I told them one morning, I tried to stay to the front because I was kind of sensitive. If I got wet, and your shoes are wet and you're all day, I would just be sick. And I told them, I said, look, leave me out of the water fight. Don't do it. Just leave me out. I said, you guys have all the fun, please. And some crazy guy said, get Rippy. And they just bombed me. I mean, I was soaked to my socks. My shoes were wet. I told them, and sure enough, because I had to get off the bus and go all day wet. And the next morning, I had a scratchy throat. I'm coughing. But I decided I was going to join the water fight. And they said, we'll see you tomorrow. I said, okay. So that morning, my mom goes, "Why? What are you doing?" I said, I got a science project." And I was boiling hot water.
No, you didn't.
I was boiling hot water. Everybody else was loaded with ice cold water. I got on with hot scalding
Oh my.
water.
How did the balloons not pop with the water that hot?
They were hot. Trust me, they were hot. And it just reminded me of the reaction, because I said I had all my water. I had literally, like, a soap. My mom had all these empty soap bottles from the washing dishes. I had loaded them things. I swear, you had to wrap them with towels. They were so hot you couldn't even hold them. So I had my supply, and I said, "Look, guys, leave me out of this." I would have left everybody alone.
Yeah.
But they decided, "Let's get rippy." I said, "Okay." Sure enough, they started up. I reached in the bags. And when I popped the top, it started spraying hot water. The screams of horror. And the whole bus ran to the back.
You need to write. That story.
Oh, it was just the funny thing was the smoke off of those water bottles, because the stream had smoke behind it.
It was so hot.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And the kids were screaming, Rippy's got hot water! Rippy's got hot water! And the bus driver's like, "What are you doing? What are you guys doing?" Anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to share that funny story. But that story, your story, kicks in such vivid memories of how crazy kids can be, but the fun and the drama and the heartache. And like I said, honestly, the thing that you're doing psychologically is giving these kids someone to care, because sometimes these kids at home don't have that care. Sometimes they come from broken homes. Sometimes they come from dysfunctional homes. And when you give them that love and attention and you say, "Hey, those are some cool little sneakers," they don't get that at home. They really don't. And by you transferring, and that's where your knowledge of child development and teaching and all of that kicks in, you are very, very treasured. I can imagine the kids love you in a way because you probably are pouring on them things that they really need and that they're not getting at home. And that's just really wonderful.
Well, and I'll say something to that is the sub route that I ran this morning was actually in the area that I ran, several years ago. And one of these boys got out and went, "Oh my gosh, it's the best school bus driver ever!" And this is a middle school. People were looking at him like, "What is wrong with you?" But I also want to touch on what you said, is that I believe my stories cause people to either relive, if they had a bad bus experience, they kind of get to relive maybe what it should have been. Yeah. Or like you, it just takes them back to those hilarious times that gave you such joy. Because I'll tell you that when I go to church, a lot of times it is the grandpas that come up to me and say, "Man, I love that story." It's the 20-year-old men. It's grandma. People stop me in the grocery store and they're like, "Hey, did that boy ever find his paper?" Because they're responding to what I wrote about.
Oh man, that's wonderful.
So I feel like not only am I a vessel for these kids that I actually see, every day, but I also help people relive or redo maybe the horrible things that happened to them on the bus, to say, "Okay, this is the way it was supposed to be," and
wonderful.
Just walk through it with me.
Do you have a cover of your book? Do you have a book cover?
So I have a publisher. I have my first year now. And remember, I got hired in COVID. I was hired, but buses did not run until October because everything was online. And the first year, this is a true testament too, we had to wear masks. So I had on masks.
Right.
glasses and a hat, and all they saw were just my part of my face in a rearview mirror. Exactly.
Wow.
You. And still we made these connections without even seeing each other's faces.
Wow.
So I remember the day we could all take our masks off, and we were just like introducing our, we were like, wow, look, that's what you look like. It was just so bittersweet to, we all went through that together, and it was just really super bittersweet, I guess, to walk with these kids and different things.
So
Wow.
your book has not come out yet, but you have a publisher.
Yes, got a publisher. It's called Once Upon a School Bus, and the manuscript has already been turned in. All I got to do is worry about the cover and those kind of things. So I'll definitely reach out to you guys when it goes live.
Wonderful. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, when that gets published, y'all, we're going to have her back so that we can help promote that book. So, Brenda, you mentioned something before about people reliving experiences, and I just wanted you to know that actually was happening in the comments with Chloe. Chloe talked about having a not nice bus driver who would pull up to their house, open the doors, let her brother off, close the doors right in her face, and drive off, and make her stay on the bus for another hour and a half before he would drop her off at her house. And she had no idea that that it wasn't supposed to be that way. She knew he was being ugly, but she never said anything to her parents, never got that resolved.
Yeah.
And it caused her to relive that.
Well,
so she was
go to my stories and read a few and kind of step through some therapy, honestly, because I know that it's going to bring up things that aren't good. And I just feel for that, because these bus drivers have such I don't know, their lives in their hands. And that's why I think what I want to do too is, with my education, I would love to create a curriculum that can be played in every bus. We have dead air. We have an hour on the bus that we could be doing patriotic songs, talking about the foundations of our country, introducing multiplication facts, going through the capitals and the states. Like we could just be beginning to just pour that in. Now, granted, I would do the program to where other kids in the school could have access to it, but it would be something that could be played, because that in itself is classroom or bus management. Giving these kids to chant and learn, so that when they get to school, they are primed and they're ready, and they've already got some good stuff, or have bus buddies, or have reading buddies and that kind of thing. So I would love to create something, because we have so many kids in these little yellow capsules that they're either fighting bad drivers. I don't mean fighting. Or so that's something that I am in the process of creating.
I love that idea. I absolutely love that, to use that bus time to actually help further their education, but do it in a fun way.
Absolutely.
That they actually look forward to.
You know
That's
what?
fantastic.
And Brenda, you know what? I see something even bigger for you.
What?
I see you have a blessed opportunity to be able to share this with bus drivers all across the nation.
Yes.
Their greater responsibility, of course, delivering the children, transporting the children safely. That's priority number one. But number two, you have the ability to remind them of the importance of their job and that face-to-face contact. Also, the not so good things. You could also maybe make a handbook and get it published, and school districts across the country could pick up your book and say, hey, pay attention to these children, because you see them every day. And if you see a child and you go, that child has a bruise on them.
Absolutely.
That child doesn't seem so happy. That child, her or his emotional state is different than it's been. So your little conversations can give you greater insight than just someone just driving the bus and they're just doing a job.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this, the Lord from 5 years ago, when I got my little CDL packet and I'm sitting there starting, I gave him this ministry. He gave it to me, and giving it back to him. And he is slowly, the stories I have in the paper and the stories I read on the radio station, that is not all for my glory, all for his and for a bigger purpose, so that he can reach more of these kids, not just mine on the bus. So I'm excited about what he's going to do. I'm ready. My palms are up. I'm like, let's go. Ready.
Yeah.
I'm excited about reaching more kids through the drivers who take this on.
Yeah. But there, of course, the actually out here in California, and I don't know if it's the same with you all back that way, but it's the Teamsters. The Teamsters, they are the main bus drivers, or that's the union for the bus drivers, and union strong, man. Could you imagine being able to present your story and bus drivers all across the nation gravitate? Hey, I'm a marketing person. I'm sorry, that's my skill set. I see you doing astronomical sales, because it should be a thing when a person get their CDL, they should get your book as well.
Well, okay. You're my manager. You're hired.
Thank you. Thank you very
There
much.
you go. There you go.
That's right.
I love it when we have these great connections happen right here on the show, and then something wonderful gets started in the world. That's just amazing.
I'm glad.
All right, Brenda, we've only got about 4 minutes left, but I think it's just enough time.
Okay.
I would love for you, if you can access it, to read the story, You've Got Mail or Not.
Okay. Yeah, wait, hang on. Let me get to it.
I love that one, because y'all, she's teaching more than, than state capitals and multiplication facts.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
On the bus here.
Hang on. Here it is. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah. Okay. Captain's log, you got mail or not. This is the first entry I am reluctant to share. So I nudged a mailbox in cul-de-sac number 7 this morning. I have successfully bus danced in this very cul-de-sac for 7 whole months. But this morning, I let myself get distracted from total focus. I thought I knew this turn like the back of my hand, but I hit it. A slow reverse nudge, strong enough to knock it over with a loud crash of tumbling bricks that couldn't resist the brute strength of Old Yeller. A nudge that got the kids all excited. In a matter of nanoseconds, my reputation crumbled like those mailbox bricks, from rock star to crazy bus driver lady that almost killed us all. Some kids were terrified, others cheered, and several could not wait to tell every single additional rider about the great event. I kept cool as the questions pelted me all the way to school. Are you going to tell someone? How are you going to fix it? How are they going to get their mail? Can I go look at the back of the bus for damage? Can I tell the principal? Upon arriving at the school, while waiting for our turn to unload, I talked honestly to my kids over the intercom. I told them that everyone makes mistakes. Each of us has a decision to make about how to resolve an embarrassing, difficult situation. I told them I had 3 choices. 1, deny that it ever happened. 2, blame those rowdy kids. 3, admit the mistake, apologize, own it, and get to the steps of solution quickly. By a show of fingers, 1, 2, or 3, the kids voted. Honestly, it didn't matter what a bus full of elementary kids thought. As uncomfortable as it was up to me to lead by example. I glanced up in that enormous rearview mirror and I looked each one in the eyeballs. With one final statement, I dashed the dreams of many. By the way, I'm going to tell Miss Assistant Principal first before you can tattle on this old girl. I knew a few of who desperately wanted to rat on the crazy bus driver as soon as they took their last step off my bus. Nope, I stole that juicy piece of gossip right away from them. Once the excited kids unloaded, I had to follow through with the steps of reporting an incident. I had to radio it into Channel 2 where everyone in the transportation shop could hear. I was told to call Mr. Bus Transportation on his phone. After a few unsuccessful attempts, I finally reached him. When I introduced myself, his immediate reply was, "Oh, hey, is this Crash?" It was some consolation to be told that I am the third driver to hit the mailbox at this address, and it has now been replaced 3 times by the school system. Mr. Bus Transportation knew exactly where this happened and how much it would cost to replace it. With a teasing jab, he asked, "By the way, do you know how to lay bricks?"
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And so at the end, I did a prayer that said, "Lord, help us to learn from the many hard life lessons we face and struggle through each and every day. Teach us to act quickly, fess up, accept responsibilities, apologize, and work patiently to fix any damage, physical or relational, in our lives. Help us to stay laser focused on what you have put in us in charge of. Kids, jobs, students, whatever it is. In your name I pray. Amen." And then I had the hymn, "I need thee, oh, I need thee, every hour I need thee." Hymn number 428.
hey,
In the
hey.
hymnal. I
Yep.
love that story. I love it
That's
especially
awesome.
because you were leading by example. Those kids are going to see that and know, hey, there's a different way to handle it when I mess up, and
Yes.
especially when I'm embarrassed and I'd rather everybody not know.
Mm-hmm.
But you showed them by example, hey, the best route is always to be honest and own up to what you did. And if everybody knows about it, they just know about it, but they
Yep.
know so much more about you now that is
Yes.
so positive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I think this is a great idea. Evelyn says, I think Brenda can make a TV series. That's fun. I'm sure Rodney will come with some creative ideas.
Let's
Uh,
go.
hey, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And again, we're very excited. You've been watching the This Way Network, the chat session. We had Miss Brenda Wilkerson. She's a writer and an awesome bus driver. She has taken bus driving to a whole nother level, dealing with the young people and just getting so many incredible stories. Thank you, Miss Wilkerson, for being on with us. We really appreciate that. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Amen. We sure do.
Thank you, guys.
And y'all, thanks for joining us this morning on the This Way Network. And we got to say goodbye now, but we'll have Brenda back another time. We'll hear some more stories and maybe we'll get connected with the book she's writing. So, bye, everybody. Have a great week. And y'all, be of good courage. God is with us and we aren't alone. Bye, everybody.
Take care.